This is the Trading Psychology Podcast. This is VP, creator of No Nonsense Forex and author of the book No Nonsense Forex Trading Psychology. And with me, as he is every episode, it is the explosive Robb Reinhold.
Wow, explosive. I hope you don't mean explosive diarrhea, Robb Reinhold, but it's been known to happen. Hey everyone, it's great to be here, and hopefully everyone had a great summer.
Yeah, heading into Q4 here. We need to talk about a few things here, Robb. We really did probably my favorite episode we've ever done last time, talking about the Flat Earth Trading Society's 100th episode and what we learned from it, because it is proof positive that everything we talk about here works. If you need proof, there it is. Go look anytime you want. Now that we know this, what happens when we as traders do not achieve the results that we saw back in the last episode? Well, a lot of things happen, and we've talked about a lot of those things on the show, but do we take credit for these things? Do we take credit when we do really well? You know, there's a lot of things that go into accountability, and Robb, I wanted to define terms here real quick, and I kind of just did on my end. I define accountability as owning your results, good or bad, whatever they are. Pretty simply put. Do you have anything different than that?
My definition of accountability is meeting expectations, either your own expectations or other people's expectations. That to me is accountability.
Okay, so what if people have unrealistic expectations? How do you deal with that?
Well, those are very hard to meet. If you make really ridiculous expectations for yourself, you're pretty much always going to fall short. But there's this fine line. We all know that you set goals higher than you think you can accomplish, just so you can reach a little bit further than you might have actually reached. So look, as long as you don't beat yourself up, you don't quit, you don't fall apart because you didn't meet these expectations, as long as there's growth, I think it can still be a very positive thing.
So moving forward, now Robb and I are shooting this a bit later than usual. So we didn't really have time to go over the outline. And Robb, you added this part late, so we never really got a chance to talk about it. It's the 4 Tendiencies quiz. Now, this is something you would do. You like stuff like this, and I think the viewers like it too. So since we didn't get a chance to talk about it, I'm just going to let you kind of riff on it. And if you need me to answer questions or jump in, I will. But tell us what this is all about.
You bet, Patrick. And you didn't even get a chance to take the quiz. And now I am so curious of what your score is going to be. But let's get into what the quiz is. My wife is a big fan of, she listens to a podcast. I don't even know the name of the podcast. It's a lady, her name is Gretchen Rubin. And I've listened to it enough times. It's very specifically built for women, so it doesn't quite grab me as much as it does her. But she had this quiz, and she made this quiz up, and it really talks about how we all react to accountability. And it's called the 4 Tendencies quiz. If you go on and type in Gretchen Rubin 4 Tendencies quiz, it'll probably pop up automatically in your Google search bar. Patrick, I'm going to send you the link that people can go in and take it. And basically, it will ask you questions and give you a score, basically saying how you react to expectations and how you react to accountability. Now, there's going to be 4 results. So let's kind of go through the results. So upholders, they are going to meet their own expectations, and they're going to be able to meet other people's expectations. So these are people that are always on time for themselves because they want to be on time. And if you ask them to be there at 6, they're going to make sure they're there at 6. So they meet their own expectations and they meet outside expectations equally. Equally is important. The next group you could possibly be is called an obliger. Now, my wife is an obliger, and she's awesome. She is what she calls a people pleaser. So if she says to herself, I want to go to the gym at 4 p.m., she has a hard time meeting those inner expectations, her inner accountability. She has a hard time meeting those sometimes. However, if you say, hey, let's meet at the gym at 4 p.m. to work out together, she will be there early, every single time, 100 times out of 100. So for her, she needs accountability because she has sometimes a difficult time meeting for herself. So she does lots of exercise classes. She does lots of things that that other people's expectations of her, if she doesn't meet them, she doesn't like that at all. So that really helps her meet some of the goals that she set for herself. Now myself, I am a questioner. Questioners, they don't care about other people's expectations. They care about their own. So for me, I will decide what I'm going to do. If you expect me to be there at 4, I'm going to look at my calendar and say, you know what? I don't think I can be there till 4:15. And if you say, look, I really need you to be there by 4, I might change my schedule up, but for the most part, I'll be there 4:15.
I can vouch for this.
Okay. So I'm a questioner. I will make up my mind of what's going to happen, and your expectations of me do not, I shouldn't say do not matter, but mine take priority. And then the last of the 4 tendencies quiz, which is the most difficult, is what's labeled as the rebel. Now the rebel's catchphrase is, you can't make me do it, and neither can I. I have a son who is the rebel personality, and it was a difficult personality when he was growing up. So we had to kind of trick him into him thinking that he came up with the idea for him to actually be able to meet those expectations. But he couldn't be there at 4 o'clock. And if we said be there at 4 o'clock, he couldn't be there at 4 o'clock either. So look, this is a fun little quiz. Look, it's not super scientific, but go and take it, because how you score on this, there is, a really good nugget of truth in this quiz that will really help you learn a little bit about yourself, of how you should handle this accountability in trading.
All right, well, you have known me for about 10 years now. If you had to put me in one of those 4 categories, which one do you think I would be?
I think, based on what I know about you, I would put you in the questioner category. I think you will do your research and decide what you want to do. What was that right?
So which one is that? Is that more like you, or is that more like your wife?
No, more like me, like a questioner.
Okay, actually, I think I'll be more like your wife, and I'll tell you why. And so I'm thinking back to when I was employed, I was always on time, and I was always prepared. I don't know why that is. It's just a work ethic thing I had in me from the get-go. And it actually kind of helped me, because I was always not really a prick to management, but I would always question something if I thought it was dumb or inefficient. But because I was always on time, and I knew the menu inside and out, and I was always really good with the guests, I could kind of afford to do that. So maybe that was the reason I was always as punctual as I was, because it gave me more leeway in other places. But I've always been that way. And I've always been that way with the channel. Back in the day, I was putting out something every Monday and every Thursday. Now it's 3 times a week, and I also pay attention to when I put it out. And other people are like, why do you care so much about when you release this? I'm like, look, if I don't care about what time this goes out, then who's going to? I always want to try to get it when all time zones are at least around, maybe not in Asia, because, they're in Asia and it's tough. But, I want to make sure everybody in Europe and Africa get it in the morning. I want to make sure people in the United States get it in the afternoon. That was always my thing back when I was starting the channel. And and there was nobody to hold me accountable for that. So I was really good with that. Then again, I never go to the gym at the same time every other day when I go to the gym. I want to, but it just never turns out that way. And there's all these other tasks I have to do too. I get them all done, but as far as when, it never quite happens when I want them to. So do you think that puts me in the obligers category? Because that's where I think I was going with it.
Let me ask you this one simple question. You said that you showed up to work all the time. And I already know the answer to this, but I want to ask this. Was it because you wanted management to know that you were punctual and on time? Or was it because you knew that if you were late, that you made your friends and your other servers, you made their lives worse?
That's a really good question. I think it was probably the latter, because I know how it can, because it's the restaurant industry, Rob. There's so many people that just come in late all the time, but they're cool with management or some kind of nepotism hire, and they never get in trouble for it. And it did mess us up a lot. So it was kind of a letting the team down thing. So it's not like I was really trying to score brownie points with management. I kind of just felt like it's just what grown-up, responsible people do, and there's consequences if you don't.
Yeah, so that will definitely put you in the obliger category. So if you cared more about how it affected others than really how it affected yourself, it's definitely going to put you on the obliger side. But look, of course, we're all a blend of all of these things. We all have a little bit of rebel in us. We all have a little bit of holder, but we will show one a little bit stronger than the other. No question about it.
Interesting. Okay, so we will link that down below. Now that we have that part out of the way, let's talk about how this actually applies to trading. And the first part I want to talk about is owning losses. So when you take a loss, what is the first thing? I'm not saying to you, Rob, I'm just saying rhetorically, what is the first thing that goes through your head? Do you blame it on the system you put together? Do you blame it on what's going on in the market? Do you blame it on external events in the financial news? Or do you just say, hey, look, it was my fault. I put this together, and it's my results, sink or swim. That's kind of how I define owning losses. Rob, do you have anything to add on to that, or can you kind of see yourself in some of these explanations, like maybe an older version of you compared to a version of you now?
Well, I think the question of owning losses is we really have to talk about, really what the Tendiencies quiz did was talk about inner expectations and outer expectations. So we're really talking about inner expectations at this point. We all have these goals. We all have these measures, these metrics that we want to reach. And these are set by us. Now, we talked earlier about when you set unrealistic expectations, it is setting yourself up for some failure. But these are all internal expectations. And so I think that every single loss should absolutely be owned 100%. Because if you don't own it, it's very difficult to learn anything from it. Because then you get into the victim mentality to say, oh man, bad luck. That damn Chairman Powell again, or the Bank of Japan did this. Can you believe this is happening? By doing that, you're not learning anything from it. Because it happened to you. You didn't make it happen. It happened to you. So I'm huge on owning losses. Every single loss you take is your fault. Now, again, there's things that happen, but it's your fault, and if you should try to learn something from it. So I can't stress that more. I really hate whenever I talk to one of our traders, and they give me an excuse how the market did this, and I'm like, no, this is on you. So yeah, owning losses is so important as a trader.
And if I was a young prop trader in your firm and you came to me and said that to me, I would initially be pretty upset because I'd be like, no, I know what happened. It was actually the market that took me out of that trade. But you're so right, though, because this is what every really great head coach does. This is what every great quarterback does, regardless of whose fault it actually was. And everybody in the whole world knows. They know that they're not even being genuine when they say this, but they still do it. They say, look, it all comes down to me at the end of the day. Sink or swim, if we lose, it's on me. Now, when they win, oddly enough, they say they thank their teammates, they thank God, they thank their wives, whatever. But when it comes down to the actual losses side, it's funny how this works. The great ones always put the blame on themselves, don't they?
Yeah, and you're right. And then when you look at when they do win, they look outward. They look outward and they say like, oh no, it was the team, it was all these other things. Now, in the world of trading, you should say things like, you know what, my system performed well in this market condition. I'm really happy with it. I want to thank my system. It's like, winning the Super Bowl and giving the microphone and be like, I really want to thank my system for winning this football game. And if without my system, there's no way we could have done it. That's how you should feel.
Yeah, and it'd be a really corny thing to say, I'd like to thank my system. But what you're really thanking in that situation is just your preparation, your training, your nutrition, all the things that go into where you are right now. And I actually think it's okay to do that in the world of trading. Say, look, you can give thanks to your system, but your system is you. You put the system together, regardless of whether you learn how to do it from me or somebody else, whatever the case is. I get a lot of praise when the systems work really well. They come back and they thank me for it. I'm like, look, you put this together. I don't even know what your system looks like. This thing is all yours, and you should celebrate those wins.
I completely agree. Trading is a really hard business. And if you don't pat yourself on the back and you're just constantly, getting down on yourself for the losses, oh my gosh, this is going to be an absolutely horrible profession for you. And if you can't get out of that, please quit and go do something else, because it is not worth living life like that. Own your wins. The only advice I can give here is that if it causes negative consequences to your trading, then maybe you shouldn't own them so much. Like if you start to get really, full of yourself and you start to deviate from your system and start to trade bigger and start to do things because you are so smart, then obviously we got to tone that down. But look, trading is a tough business. You've got to enjoy and revel in the gains. It's one of the reasons I do advocate, and I know, Patrick, this is something you don't really love to do because you don't want to slow down compound growth, and I get the math behind it. But I love to reach out and push traders to take distributions. I say, please you had a great month, take this distribution, take a little bit of it, go on a trip, put the rest in the bank, or put the rest in, money market funds or whatever, so it's earning something. But celebrate this, because we all know in trading there's ups and downs, and you've got to manage them both really well, or else this is just a long fight that doesn't seem to really have any payoff. So I really do love for having people take capital out.
And I think that's actually a really good idea from where you sit, especially if it's somebody who's pretty early in their prop firm career, because you're giving them a taste. You're like, hey, take this money, put it in your account, see what it feels like. Whether you're just sitting there looking at it or whether you're actually spending it. You should know that, like, hey, with hard work and running a system the right way, this is what can be possible. I think that's a great motivating factor. But like you were saying before too, and we've talked about this a lot of times on the show, you can own your wins, but not to the point to where you think you're just completely invincible, because the market will press you down right away if you do something like that. But it's okay to say, yeah, you know what? The reason I am year in and year out a profitable trader is because of the system I put together and my adherence to the system. There is nothing wrong with that. That falls into accountability as well, not just the losses. So to kind of tie everything up, or at least tie those last 2 points up, owning your overall results, I think, is incredibly important. And you think this would be obvious, but from where I stand as a YouTuber, I see people fail on this a lot. It always happens, Rob, when the market's slow, and we're all trend traders at No Nonsense Forex, and so we're taking losses, we're stagnating. All the excitement we saw when we backtested indicators and backtested systems, and all the excitement we got when we got those first big wins, they're just not there anymore, and now we're taking losses. And those gains are dwindling back down to break even, maybe even below. And now I am losing faith in the person who told me to put this system together. And here comes all the hate comments on my channel. It never fails. It never happens when the market's trending and everybody's happy. It happens when the market's going the other way. And I'm not going to sit there and be confrontational with these people, because that argument's not going to go anywhere. But what I want to tell everybody is, like, look, if you don't own your results, it's not like I run a signal service and I told you what trades to take and how long to hold them. I'm just an educational guy who told you how to put a system together. You took it from there. And now that it's not going your way, you want to push it back on me. Look, man, you're not going to go very far in anything if this is going to be your approach. Have you ever run into anything like this, Rob, within the prop firm? I'm not sure exactly how it would go down, but do you get some of this sometimes, some of this vitriol towards you?
No, we don't really get that, because we expect traders to run their own book. We expect traders to develop their entirely own system, run their own book. So we don't get that a lot. But I think it's a great thing to talk about in this podcast of accountability, because what that means is that you are not meeting your definition of success, or you are not meeting your expectations. And this is where it does you no good whatsoever to blame the outside world, because when you do that, there's no improvement. And so in this episode of accountability, let's talk about, our inner expectations and how to manage them. Now, I gave you 4 types of people, and I want to go through these because I want to talk to now you individually. Some of you are upholders. And remember, upholders are the ones that they will actually have a list of all the ways that they did not meet their accountability for you. If they reach out to you and say, hey, I need you to help me to be accountable in my trading, when you finally meet with them, they're going to have a list already of all the ways that they didn't meet their accountability, and they have already fixed them. So look, upholders really don't need a lot of accountability. They are really, for just by themselves, really good at this. All right, so I've got this on our worksheet here. So upholders love accountability. So let's move next to the obligers. Obligers want accountability. They want accountability. The traders we get that are obligers, they want to meet with their coaches weekly. They want feedback on how they're doing. They want people to look at what they're doing and tell them what they're doing wrong so they can get better. Obligers desperately crave accountability. So if they aren't meeting their own internal expectations, they're saying, hey, I need you to help me meet my expectations. What can I do, or how can I change these things? So if you are an obliger personality, then I think it's very, very helpful for you to get, and we're going to talk about this next, an accountability partner. Someone who can really help you out in the world of trading. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. If you are a questioner like me, now I said that obligers want accountability. Questioners need accountability. Here's the problem. We don't value your opinion at all. We don't care what you think. So as you can see, if I'm not meeting my own personal expectations, like maybe it's something like I can't follow my system all the time, or I keep doing something that I know I shouldn't, it's very, very difficult for a person like me to go outward and say, I need help with this. It is very, very difficult for me to reach out and ask for help on something because I don't really value other people's expectations. I just value my own. So, Patrick, do you have any advice, or have you known anyone like this in your life that they need that accountability, but they're maybe just too proud to accept it?
Yeah, I've known many alcoholics in my day, Rob. Yes, exactly.
Hey, don't talk about me.
The shoe fits, right? You put it on yourself. I'm telling you, they know what the problem is, but they just don't want help. And maybe a small part of them does. I don't know. I've never known anybody with an addictive personality that said, hey, I really want to quit this addiction. It usually takes rock bottom until that happens. So that was the first thing I thought about when you said that. Now, that's probably not the greatest example in the world, but it's funny, too, because you were talking, you kind of gave secondary definitions to these 4 categories. And honestly, I'm probably a little bit of a hybrid between you and your wife, too, because if it's something I'm really good at, or I feel like it's something I'm really good at, I don't value anybody's opinion. I'm like, yeah, I'm the shit. I don't care what you have to say about it. Maybe you're good too, but you're not doing it the same way I'm doing it. So it's kind of irrelevant, right? So it's interesting you put it that way because there's 2 groups of people, I think, as far as my subscribers go. There's the people who just want help all the time, and I'm not very bullish on their future, to be honest. And then there's the ones who I almost never, ever hear from because they pretty much feel like they got it. And I'm kind of left wondering how they're actually doing because they don't really ask any questions or they don't really even chime in. They just kind of, you wind them up and they go.
Yeah, and everyone is going to be a mixture of all of these things. And the last one we need to talk about, the most difficult one of these tendencies is the rebels. Rebels need accountability and they will hate it. They will absolutely hate it. So look, again, all of these things are if you can't meet your inner expectations. And look, those inner expectations, and we've talked about this, Patrick, time and time again on this podcast, and just in case this is someone's first episode, let's repeat this. You have absolutely no control over returns. Zero zip. Judging your performance as a trader on your P&L is the surest way to really struggle in this business. So you should already get rid of that. If you haven't got rid of that, get rid of that. And so your expectations should be things like, my expectation is to be perfect this month in my entries. Okay, that is your expectation. That's something that you have control over. What happens when you can't meet these expectations? And that's what we're talking about here when accountability. Because when we can meet our own expectations, everything's great. Upholders do this all the time. But when we can't do the things and meet the expectations that we have of ourselves, this is where, and again, this makes me cringe just saying this, but you have to reach out for help. I am terrible at this. I am not the person to be, again, if you looked at my life, my wife would be laughing at me right now just hearing me say this. But you need an accountability partner, period.
Yeah, and that's going to kind of coincide with the solutions part of this episode, which we're about to get to. But you just said one thing I want to touch on before we do that, Rob. And we've danced around this topic in previous episodes, but I don't think we've ever really gone into it. We don't need to go into it a whole lot. But remember this too, what Rob just said. Your ability as a trader has almost nothing to do with your actual P&L and your trading results. We've talked about this before. You just want to become a better trader. And I don't want to give away something I'm going to bring up at the end of the show, but just remember that. You see these interviews with people on YouTube like this Forex trader got a 167% return last year. And everybody's like, oh, wow. And these videos get all these views and everybody's all enamored with this guy. The chances of you seeing that guy again next year or any year thereafter is almost zero. They caught lightning in a bottle. They're not this great trader. A really great trader wouldn't even get that kind of P&L. And Rob, you know what I'm talking about. So, just understand your results and your ability as a trader are not mutually exclusive. They very seldom are. So moving on from there. So Rob, you got 4, I got 1. So go ahead and rattle off the 4 people or organizations that exist that could help a trader out as far as keeping them accountable from this point on.
All right, let's jump into it again. Keeping yourself accountable to your own expectations that you can't seem to meet. So the first one I've got is a trading friend. Now, this word friend, I know it can mean a whole bunch of different things. There's some of my friends I see every 10 years, and there's some of my friends I see daily. It really is literally just someone you know. Or it can even be someone who you know online. I think the world's just such a cool place now. I remember when my son was about 8 or 9 years old, in 8th or 9th grade, he didn't have a lot of friends at school. He would just come home from school and go down in the basement, and my wife and I were worried about him. And she's like, hey, we'll go down there and talk to him, will you? Like, about having friends. And I went down there, and he was laughing. He was having a great time, and he had his headset on. He was playing Xbox. And I asked him, oh, who you playing with? He's like, oh, my friend Marcus from Sweden, and my friend here from this. And I realized, oh, he has friends. He has friends. They're just not the friends like when I was a kid. He had friends with me. And I went upstairs and I said, he's fine. He's got plenty of friends. So look, there's a lot of people you can meet online. If you're looking for this, please go to just any forum. Go to any forum on a Forex Factory. Go to Elite Trader. Go to any forum and just be like, hey, I need someone to help me be accountable. Who here is willing to do that? I promise you, you're going to have people reach out to you and offer to do that. And you need to tell them, this is what I need you to keep me accountable for. Now, the great thing is if you meet them on a trading forum or you know someone in your life that's a trader, they know the game of trading. And so it's going to be very easy for you to kind of train them of how to keep you accountable. Another person you could hire is a trading coach. There are trading coaches out there available. So do some Google searches, or does anybody here online know a good trading coach? You're going to get a name, hire that person, tell them, this is what I need from you. This is what I need from you to help me stay accountable.
And just so everybody knows, I am your friend. For a lot of you, I am your coach. But do not choose me for any of these two things. Like I said before, I have enough on my plate. No offense.
And I'll go ahead and just same that. So thank you for getting that out there. Okay, so people that are in the trading world are going to be very good for you to link up with and to help you be accountable. And look, and just be honest, I'm having a hard time keeping my rules, and this is what I need help with. All right, let's talk about one that I think might be the most effective, but also might be the most embarrassing, difficult, is a spouse or a significant other that you're very close to. All right, now I know I've said this so many times in my life. There is only one person in this entire world that can hurt me, and that's my wife. Anyone could say anything to me, and it doesn't matter. She's the only one that can hurt me. Her opinion of me is more important than my opinion of me. So, if you're feeling comfortable with this, again, like I said, this is going to be the most uncomfortable, but probably the best one. And I actually had one of my traders that got his wife, and they sit down, and she goes over his trades. And she's like, why did you do this one? You know better, because he kind of trained her of what he was doing and the problems he was having. And boy, I'm telling you, it fixed it within a week or two. Patrick, I'd never seen anything fixed that he had been struggling with for years. It was fixed because he, like me, was absolutely embarrassed that he made the same mistake that his wife told him, I can't believe you made this. It was beautiful. Now look, this is extreme. What are your opinions on this one?
Well, at first I was like, oh man, I really hate this one, because like it's not like your spouse is going to have any idea, how to trade or how it's affecting you or anything like that. But the example you gave, did make more sense towards the end. That's all I can really say about it.
Yes, anyone who's not in the world of trading, you're going to have to train. And you're going to have to be like, stuff like this. He was struggling with overtrading. And so it was like, hey, I want you to, if you ever see me make more than 2 trades in a day, then that's a mistake. I think anyone can figure that out. You're going to have to train them for sure. All right, let's talk about this last one, a prop firm. Now look, this is not a plug for Maverick Trading. Well, maybe it is a plug for Maverick Trading, but look, there's lots of prop firms out here. One of the things I always say that's good about a prop firm, there's good and bad about prop firms, do your research, but one of the good things is forced discipline. And I tell people, you want forced discipline when you're being an idiot, when you're breaking rules, when you are going into too big of a drawdown and you get, I call it stuck in a trade, like a deer caught in headlights, where you literally know you should get out, but you can't get out. Patrick, do you remember those in your early days in trading when you absolutely 100% knew you should get out, but literally couldn't?
Yeah, and it was during my early prop trading days because I put huge pressure on myself to perform, and so I would do things that were completely outside of my system to get that done. And when you do that, like you just said, you get stuck in a situation to where you should bail, but you have to take the chance that the trade is going to start coming your way again, because if you don't, you feel like that's going to be it.
Yeah, and every prop firm is different, and some of them are very, very restrictive. Like they will just cut you off. Like if you have a 2% drawdown, you're out. Like you blink and you're out. It's done. Sometimes that's really good, and I would say that if you're having a hard time with accountability and you don't have like a trading friend or the ability to hire a trading coach, maybe these prop challenges are exactly what you need, to where you look for one that's very restrictive that, no, I shouldn't say very restrictive, but is the right setup for the issue you're having. So maybe let's say if you're having over trading issues, they have a rule that you can only do 3-day trades in a week. That is the pattern day trading rule. So maybe that is what actually controls you to where you don't have a choice. If you make more than 3-day trades in a week, your account is put on hold for a week. That is what I'm talking about when it comes to forced discipline. So find a prop firm that has the right kind of parameters in place for you if you're having a hard time being disciplined yourself. So those are the 4 I wanted to talk about. Patrick, I see you have one other that is just the best.
I do, and I want to say one thing real quick about Maverick Trading, because ever since I joined Maverick Trading, I never felt the need to join another prop firm, but I was in other prop firms before that, and so I can't tell you what the landscape is right now outside of Maverick, but I can say what it was before. Most prop firms don't care about you at all and don't want to nurture you in any way. And if you don't succeed, that's fine. They got what they wanted out of you. So just take that into account when you're looking for prop firms yourself. I know Maverick's on the pricier side, and so that doesn't apply to everybody. So you'll be looking for other prop firms to go to. Just pay attention to that one thing, because I'm telling you, it's a different arena. You're going to want somebody who's actually there for you, especially early, and a lot of them just aren't.
Well, Patrick, we are what I call old school prop. The new prop firm model, and Top Step Trading was the first one to bring this out. And when I saw it, I said, wow, that's actually a really good idea. To where you get a whole bunch of people, you bring them in for a very low price, you give them all demo accounts, they're all paying you monthly, and they have these little challenges to pass. And if they pass 2 or 3 challenges that might take them 2 or 3 months, then you give them a little bit of money. And I'm looking at this whole business model as a huge funnel where I put in 1,000 potential traders, and at the end of it, I get 10 amazing traders. Now, yes, the rest of them didn't make it, and I collected some money from them during the whole time. But in the end, I get really amazing traders that now I can really start to fund with some big amounts. That is the new model of prop trading. We are what I call the old school model, where we're like, no, we're going to back you with capital, and we're going to give you the ability to make it. We don't have these tight restrictions. Our restrictions are, follow your plan. We trust you. You've proven your worth to us. We're going to give you some money, a little bit at first, see how you do with it, and then we'll increase it going forward. So if you are someone who really says, I need the really strict rules for my trading to be successful, yeah, we're not the right place for you. You should go with one of the new school prop firms with the challenges. But forced discipline is a real thing that people need. And again, be honest with yourself. If you feel like this is something you need, go find something that will help you out. One of the things I mentioned is the pattern day trading thing. If you have a hard time with overtrading, just make sure your account is never above $25,000 if you just have your own personal brokerage account. By simply doing that, you are going to limit your overtrading, because if you go over 3 day trades, your account gets locked down for a week, and if you do it too much, they just kick you out of the broker-dealer. So forced discipline is a really good thing. Just make sure it fits you right.
And just know, if you don't have any friends or coaches or a spouse or a prop firm in your life to do any of these things for you, do not despair, because all of you should at least have a trading journal. And that's my solution. And remember, when we talked about the journal, we talked about all the columns that you would put into that journal. If you don't know, you just go to my blog, type in journal. You can read the blog post on it. It has everything you need right there. But we said, what is the most important column? And I don't think anybody guessed it on the first try. The most important section in your journal is the comments section, because that's where you say only if a loss occurred, if it was something that you did because you deviated from your system. That's all you put in the comments section. And over time, you look back in that comment section and you see if the number of comments you have entered has stayed the same, has gone down, or God forbid has gone up, then you know what you have to fix. And this is how you maintain accountability towards yourself. Now, this doesn't work if you're not an accountable person in general. If you're blaming those losses on the market or an external factor or on something that happened in your home, if you already have inherent accountability when it comes to your trading losses, then a journal is perfect for you because, like we said before, it's not about your P&L. It's not about your bottom line. It's about how many of those comment section headings can you eliminate over time. And we just showed you on the very last episode with the Flat Earth Trading Society results that if you simply do that, there's going to be very, very little in your way going forward.
And I just love this last one, and I agree with you so much. One of the great things about keeping a journal is that when you do get an accountability partner, you can give me your journal right now. And if you've kept good notes, within 5 minutes, I can say, hey, these are all the things you need to do, and these are the things you're going to do to fix it. It really helps to have that journal, just in case you can't figure it out yourself, to be able to hand it to an accountability partner and have them go through it. So journaling, for me, was one of the hardest things to make myself do. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. It's my least favorite part of trading, but it is so important in the beginning. So please, 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 if you've forgotten to journal, if you don't like journaling, just do it. Just do it. It's not that big of a deal. Just do it. All right, I'll stop ranting now.
Yeah, and I said before in the journaling episode, women have no problem with this. Women love it. That was one of the favorite episodes of all time with my female subscribers. But guys, we absolutely hate it. You're right, like most of us do. But if I'm meeting you for the first time, and you're a no-nonsense Forex trader, for example, there's no way I can tell if you're an accountable person or not unless you have that journal. You can sit there and say anything you want. I don't know that unless you have something to show me. So think about that going forward. I wonder what percentage of our listeners, Rob, actually keep a journal at this stage. I will bet under 50%. So let this just be a message to all of you. Let us stress the importance of accountability in all aspects of trading. And Rob, do you have anything else before we sign off?
I don't.
Well then, this has been the Trading Psychology Podcast. Rob and I will both see you next episode.
Goodbye, everybody.